Welcome to Nintendo Ninja News. I'm your host, Chris Tysis, and we're here to talk about the Nintendo Labo. This whole new crafting, putting together thing that you use with the Joy-Cons and that, which is very, very interesting, using the Joy-Cons and putting them in and that sort of thing. Now, I'm putting on my educator's hat and talking about some of the educational aspects about it now. Um, Out of this sort of series that they're launching in April this year, which is Make, Play, and Discover. So it's an obvious move that Nintendo is harking back to their toy maker time before video games, the 70s, 60s, 50s, back then, and they're sort of bringing back that type of skills that they have for this type of video game slash cardboard making. Now, some of the interesting things that I'm seeing is fine motor skills, which is something that children use using their fingers and things like that, drawing, coloring in, stuff like that, which is very important with their suggested 6+ and older stage. And one of the good fine motor skills is something like Lego. And, putting Lego pieces together, using your fingers, putting things together, really complex little things. And it is those sort of skills that I think will be really useful for Nintendo Labo. And it involves building, putting these things together, like the fishing rod, the little house, the robot, which looks pretty complex, all these other things that I have noticed. And this was, at first, when I first saw this, I was a little bit in shock. I wasn't too sure what to say. But now, looking at things, it's actually quite ingenious, and I like it. So you can make the car, which moves around with the HD rumble, which is cool. The motorbike, which is excellent, handlebars and things like that, and the piano, which is really, really excellent. Now, some of the other things, looking at it when you're doing the little car and the robot and things like that, is a little bit of coding, it looks like, on one of the screens in the trailer, which is very early little coding type stuff, which I think would be good for children of that age, 6, 8, or 10 years old. Now, some of the other things that I've seen is the cognitive derailment, which is problem solving, design, thought processing, things like that. And that's something that children will be into, sort of learning how the mechanics work, and especially that big sort of robot backpack where there's a lot of moving parts and things like that. And they will be very curious to see how it works and comes together. And one of the advantages about having something physical like this, like, it's better than VR and AR in terms of you just put on, the big goggles and you're just moving around in this environment. This is more hands-on crafting, and that imagination and making it special. You can have that personal touch because you can use coloring pens, stickers, crayons, paint, anything that you can color up these things, like the car and the fishing rod and the house and things like that. And I think that's really good. And Nintendo has said that you'll be able to download the design patterns, so you can make them yourselves and you can add to it and let your imagination go wild. Now, the one of the other things that I've noticed is gross motor skills, which is movement and things like that. And I think the big giant robot backpack and moving using the Joy Cons like this and the little sunnies that you put on helps with the movement and things like that for children. And that does go back to the Wii era with the Wii remote and movement and things like that. So there's a lot of really interesting educational aspects. Obviously, they're calling this Toy Cons, which is pretty clever and pretty fun. A couple of the downsides, I think, from an educational point is, while this looks fairly okay in price, video game and the cardboard that you get with it, you still have to pay, here in Australia, $470 for the Switch in order for it to all work and all come together. And that's a big price for educational places, and they might think that that might not be quite worth the price. You know, not every school in Australia and around the world is flush with cash. It does suggest 6 and plus, and I would say that some of the complexities of it, especially the robot and the fishing rod and things like that, I can see 6-year-olds not being able to complete it by themselves. I think definitely parent supervision or teacher supervision is needed, because I'm just not seeing them being able to put it all together themselves, because I think that they'll be making mistakes, or the cardboard rips accidentally, or something like that, or the piano, which apparently takes a couple hours to build. Now, taking 2 hours out of classroom time to make something like the piano is a long time, and you would like to get it done in the one setting, because, you know, children are impatient and they want to build the thing and see how it works and all that sort of excitement, which is really, really cool. So there's quite a few sort of educational things. There's some of the cons of it, but there's a lot of pros happening here. And Reggie Fils-Aimé has said that this could be the beginning of a number of exciting things for Nintendo Labo, which is really, really interesting. I wonder how this will all come together in April and putting things together. I'm curious to see how this goes. But I think it's a very good idea. Now, I think some parents might balk at the price. $100 for the variety set, which I personally think probably has more value, because you can make different things. The robot goes for $119 here in Australia. While it looks absolutely super cool, I am a little worried about the price of it, and parents go, well, you know, what happens is the cardboard snaps and breaks. I have 2 or 3 children. They all want to be robots, and that increases the cost and that. So hopefully those little issues can be solved by Nintendo, and they're not, you know, paying too much to enjoy this type of game. But this is essentially Nintendo looking into their past, which I will explain in another video, and bringing it back into the future with this type of thing. And to be honest, I think Nintendo is the only one that could really deliver this type of experience because of the Joy-Cons and the Switch. You know, this was Kimishita's way of saying that we want to create new, different experiences. And I think a lot of us was caught surprised by how very different this experience is. No other console on the market could do something like this. And I don't think no other video game console in history could do this. Not even the Wii with just a Wii remote, because obviously the Wii console is connected to the TV. You are literally putting the whole console and controllers into these cardboard designs and bringing them to life. So it's a mix of the physical play and the video game sort of play, which is sort of mashing them together, which is really, you know, look, the past of Nintendo when they were a toy maker and a video game company nowadays, and putting them together, which I think is a really incredible little idea. Yes, I was left a bit speechless at first, but I'm really happy about the possibilities of what will be happening. So it's going to be very, very interesting. So education-wise, I think it has some great benefits. Maybe the cost is a little bit something that the parents might find a little hard to swallow, and I do understand that. But I think this could be very, very cool. And I think this could be a very nice birthday or Christmas present later on in the year if you can't afford to get it. It's going to be very, very interesting. I think it will sell pretty well. And, you know, all the jokes about it being a cardboard game and things like this, I think it's a game that's going to sell itself because it's so different and so wacky, like the Wii and all the other odd things that Nintendo has done. I think it would do pretty well because everyone is very curious to see how this all works. So, that is it for me, and I shall see you later on.